Alright, so this deck right here is an idea I got from another Yu-Gi-Oh YouTuber called JCD. Basically what it does is you use the field spell card Cynet Storm, and you try to take 2,000 damage so that you can randomly summon a Cyberse Link monster from your extra deck. So, you only run 6, or 2 Cyberse monsters, because these both have really good effects on the field, and they're hard to summon normally. So, you're just trying to cheat these 2 cards out. But you can do very easily with this deck, which is all about gaining life points and intentionally trying to do 2,000 or more damage to yourself. Okay, final thoughts on this deck as I slowly cycle through it for the people who just want to look at the deck list at the end of the video. I didn't actually make the core of this deck. It was entirely thought up by this other YouTuber called JCD I think. I'm pretty sure it's JCD. If I remember, I'm not lazy, I'll have it posted in the video description. And the whole core of the deck is just a Cynet Storm and inflicting 2,000 points of burn damage to yourself in order to special summon one of these two cards. Because it allows you to special summon a random Cyberse Link monster from your extra deck, and these are the two best ones I know of so far. I was also thinking maybe Topologic Zerovoros. It's a Cyberse rank 4 Link monster. It does also work on the new rank 5 Cyber, what is it, Firewall Dragon, except that card isn't good unless it's brought out properly, because it doesn't get any counters. And this one, you cannot normal summon, you cannot summon set monsters into an extra monster zone this card points to. Gains 200 attack for each banished card. If another monster special summon to a Link monster points to while this monster is on the field, banish all cards in the field. Wait, if another monster is special summoned to a zone a Link monster points to, while this monster is on the field, banish all cards on the field. Once per turn, during the standby phase, your next turn after this card was banished by its own effect, special summon it. Okay, that's why I thought this card would be good. Basically, while it's out, your opponent can't do Link summons without banishing the entire field. And it would just bring itself back if that did happen, and it also basically locks down two of your opponent's zones if it's brought out on its own. So, I thought this would be a good addition to this deck. I didn't end up running it though, because these two were also really good, but this is a third good one. And since it picks a random Cyberse monster, you don't want, you know, a full extra deck. You kind of can't rely on other Link plays besides these ones. It really limits a lot of the things you can do with this deck, because you have to play with such a limited extra deck in order to, you know, go into a good monster. So these two right here, Mech Knight Crusadia Amvrax, Avramax. This card, it doesn't gain its good effects unless it's properly brought out, but what it does gain is the ability to basically have a built-in Honest when battling a special summon monster from the extra deck. So if it battles the monster, he'll gain attack equal to their attack. It's really good. It has 3,000 attack. It can beat over anything that's brought out from the extra deck. So it's just a lot of beat damage. It has no other protection though unless it's brought out properly. If it's brought out properly though, what you can actually do in this deck, because it just requires 2 special summon monsters from the extra deck, which this deck does do, it basically protects all your other cards, makes it so it can't be affected by card effects, Cannot target this card with card effects. Also, their monsters cannot target monsters for... Yeah, so he can't be targeted for card effects, and he blocks your opponent from attacking your cards, which I did in one of the duels in order to save myself, because I had 1,000 life points left, and I had Grandadora on the field, and if he would have been destroyed, I would have lost, because I would have taken 2,000 points of damage. So what I did was I properly brought out a Crusadia, and I was able to stop my opponent from attacking it, and saved my ass. That's why I did that in that one play. I properly brought it out in order to actually use its, battle protection effect. And also, if it's properly brought out, you can shuffle a card on the field into the deck. Sadly, that doesn't activate when it's cheated out with Cynet Storm. And this card right here, if it's the only card in its zone, it can attack directly. For a 3,000 attack monster, that's pretty good. You can also send a card in its zone to the graveyard in order to special summon a Mech Knight card from your deck. That's why I'm running a single Mech Knight monster, just so I have a target to special summon from the deck, which I attempted to do once, and it just got Ash Blossomed, but, whatever. No big loss. Also, it does have protection on the field. If it's not pointing to any monsters, it actually gains some decent protection where it can't be destroyed or something. So yeah, these are the two good ones. I thought this one would also be pretty good. I wasn't too keen on any of the other Cyberse monsters, because they all don't really gain much unless they're brought out properly. And these are the only three I found that actually did something good, without having to be brought out with a Link summon. So, the actual deck itself. The main, playmakers of this deck were, Grandadora and Giant Kozaki, as both of them can inflict more than 2,000 damage to me, if I just, bring them out. This one also increases my life points by 1,000, which kind of offsets that a little bit. It's also a good 1,900 beater. There was one duel where my opponent bricked, and I won specifically just because I had this card out. And I just attacked him a bunch of times, and I won. It wasn't a very interesting duel, so I didn't include it, but I was able to win just because it was a 1,900 beater, which I thought was pretty nice. I was running Ascended to Thunder, because I like this card, and if it's destroyed, you gain 5,000 life points. And a lot of meta decks destroy monsters, by card effects nowadays. So it actually gained the 4,000, because you have to pay 3,000 in order to summon this card, and then you gain 5,000 when it's destroyed. So you net 2,000 life points for bringing this card out, basically. And it's a big beater, 2,700 beater that you can special summon from your hand. I thought this one was really good. You just can't use it for Link plays, and this deck doesn't do Link plays, so, perfect. I need life points. This gives me a whole chunk of life points and a big body on the field. It's just, if this card is removed from the field besides being destroyed by my opponent, then I don't gain those life points. So, kind of double-edged sword. What if they shuffle it back into the deck? What if they return it to the hand? Then I'm just out 3,000 life points. Didn't end up happening. So many decks just straight up destroy nowadays, which is good for me. So I was able to gain the life points or just use it as a beater, which helped a lot. This was one of the tech choices I put in. Like what I said, this deck, I straight up just took the core from JCD. I mean, I knew how the deck worked, and I wanted to see if I could do it differently. But his core was really good. There was no reason to change it, so I just did different tech choices. And this was one of them. I wasn't too sure about it. Ended up working very well. So I loved it. A free beater who allows you to gain more life points. Another tech choice I had was the Paths of Destiny. I thought, gamble cards aren't good unless both of their effects can benefit you in some way. And in this specific deck, taking 2,000 points of damage is good, because that's exactly enough to proc Cynet Storm to special summon from the extra deck. But if you get heads, you gain 2,000 life points, which is also good, because then you can have more life points to, further try to inflict damage to yourself to proc Cynet Storm later on. I didn't think it was that good, though. That's why I only ran one card. This is basically in here just to try it out. But also, if I had more than one copy, that would just dead draw me, because it doesn't do anything else. Like all the other cards, they do something else besides, manipulating life points. I just wanted to try it out, This isn't good deck building etiquette to just run one-off cards for no reason with no way to search them out. But I wanted to try it out, and it did benefit me in one of the duels. So, you know, it worked, I guess. I got lucky. The effects for my opponent, though, because they also flip a coin, and if they get tails, they take 2,000 damage, which, you know, good. Or if they get heads, they gain 2,000 life points. I'd rather they didn't gain life points, but that's not the worst thing in the world either. So, I just thought this was just full of upsides for me. But, like, it didn't do enough. Because, you know, Blazing Mirror Force does the same thing. Destroys... It does... well, it has the potential to do more than 2,000 damage to me, but it will also clear all my opponent's cards. And Ring of Destruction, same thing. It will do more than 2,000 damage to me, and it will also get rid of one of my opponent's monsters, like these two cards. Super good in this deck. I didn't really proc Cynet Storm too much with them, because a lot of the decks I went against were just like immune from destruction, unfortunately. I think I still used it anyways. Most of the time I proc Cynet Storm, it was through Ganondorf and Giant Kozaki, even though I only ran 2 copies of Giant Kozaki. There is another card, Aegis of Gaia, which is much more safer. You gain 3,000 life points, and if it's destroyed, you take 3,000 damage. So you're basically procking Cynet Storm for free. This is probably better than using Paths of Destiny. I just used it just to try it out. It was okay. You know, if you get unlucky, or, you know, you hit tails, you get a free proc off of it. That's good. Morphine Jar is too slow. It seems so good. I always think, like, why doesn't everyone use it? It's like, well, I mean, I know why people don't use it. It's because it's slow. You have to set a card, it takes up your normal summon. I used it anyway. It didn't really help. It did help me win more in one duel. This card right here, it's kind of risky in this deck. Like, you want to gain life points because you're doing so much damage to yourself. And this card will definitely allow you to gain a whole bunch of life points, but if your opponent just doesn't special summon for the turn, you have your life points, which is really bad. So you have to, like, use it in response to your opponent about to special summon something. So it's kind of risky. I didn't get my life points half, but that's because I was being super careful with how I used it. And then the artifacts, good thing I added those because they totally saved my ass in one duel. I think one of them I had nothing left in my hand except a scythe, so I set it, and they destroyed it. I was like, thank goodness, I would have lost if you hadn't done that. And of course, you know, using Sanctum to bring one of them out, having either Moral Touch or Scythe as an option was good. I was thinking about running more than one of the others, but, you know, this was the first draft of my deck, and I never actually changed it, which means it did pretty good. The way I searched out Cynet Storm is with Terraforming or Metaverse, or with Trap Trick to search out Metaverse, which will then search out Cynet Storm. So I was able to go into Cynet Storm a lot, and if I didn't, I usually lost those duels. You know, even with how much search I have for this card, there were still a couple of duels where I just never drew it and I lost, because this deck completely revolves around the field spell. Luckily, not a lot of decks run too much back row removal, and Dev Pro anyway. So that wasn't a huge issue. Okay, and what else is there? I tried Loop of Destruction because I thought this would be really good if combo with Giant Kozaki, since he destroys himself. Never drew it, it's because I'm only running one copy, because I wasn't super confident in that, you know. Another sign of bad deck building, running one-offs, because you think it has a neat combo. This was the first draft. I wanted to try it out to see if it would be good or not, and I never drew it. So, you know, probably not too good. And yeah, I think I explained everything else in this deck. Everything in the side deck. Side decks for these videos aren't real side decks. They're just cards that I had thought about including in the deck, and I just put them here, you know, just in case. Easy to remember.